Phillips, and this is my week 5 assignment for FTH 223-52749. Today's date is May 23rd, and this is for Professor Schumann. This week's assignment is an assessment of everything we learned throughout the course. The hammer-fire pistol we received for our class was the SAR B6, which is a CZ75 clone. I do have the action open. The magazine is empty. There was nothing inside the chamber, so the gun is clear and safe. What we were asked to do is we were supposed to go over some areas where we would look to check for the health of a firearm just from first glance. So the first thing you want to do is, with any firearm, especially one that you receive from a customer, you want to go over everything on that firearm. You want to look at everything, any signs of blemishes, marks, or anything, and let it be known to the customer before they leave this gun with you. For the regular health of a hammer-fired firearm, you will want to pay attention to where the hammer contacts the frame or the firing pin stop, hammer stop. You will want to check the safety. If they have a decocker, you would check the safety and decocker. The safety keeps the hammer from moving. When it comes to the frame, you'll want to check the magazine release, that it correctly holds the magazine and releases the magazine. You would also want to check the slide stop. For this pistol, the frame rails are inside the frame. Most guns, they're outside, so you will be able to check the slide lock by an outside notch, but this one is inside. You still just want to check to make sure it functions correctly. The magazine in, it will lock the slide back, as well as the sights and the muzzle. You also want to check the muzzle of the firearm. The muzzle, make sure it's free of any damage, burrs, dents, dings, or anything like that. And that's from the external view of the firearm. 10 learning experiences I had with the SAR B6 and the overall hammer-fired class. It starts with the history and the development of the hammer-fired pistol. From our other classes, I was aware of starting with the wheel lock and the early designs, but with this being a hammer-fired course, I realized that the first firearms were hammer-fired. Another learning experience, which was the greatest learning experience in this entire class for me, was the disassembly and reassembly. When you're taking a gun apart, it's like reverse engineering. You're seeing how everything was put together. So that brings a different level of familiarity with the gun for me. The reassembly was really the learning lesson, because there were some challenges I faced with the reassembly. Some of the steps that were difficult for me, they won't be as difficult if I have to do it again. But the first time, and me finding the correct way to get certain springs back in the firearm, that was the greatest learning experience for me in this course. The safety and the decocking of the hammer-fired pistol. All hammer-fired pistols do not have a decocker. I do have a Beretta M9A4, and it does have a decocker. The SAR B6 has a safety, and it doesn't have a decocker. My Beretta, and it is also clear. There's nothing in the firearm. The firearm is empty. The Beretta, unlike the SAR, it does not have a safety. It only has a decocker. How some may just have a safety, and some may also have a safety and a decocker, or some may just have a decocker and not have a safety at all. Spring changes is something I learned also. Hammer-fired pistols have a main spring to control the hammer. With our revolver class, we did have to do a spring change job, and we went inside and cleaned some of the internals. So what that taught me was, because the revolver also was hammer fired, so it taught me that some of the things that we learned in the revolver course and throughout all the courses can be applied to different platforms. Another learning experience was trigger tuning with the hammer fired pistols. With hammer fired pistols having a main spring for the hammer, a sear spring for the sear, and a trigger return spring. Tuning those springs, or even changing some of the springs out, can give you an overall different feel with the trigger pull. Slide cuts is something we also learned about in this class. A hammer fire pistol can have slide cuts, reduce the weight of the slide and the overall mass of reciprocation, which changes the felt recoil. Ported barrels and compensators. That's something else that we learned about in this class. The science behind compensating firearms and ported barrels, it's all the same regardless of the platform that you're dealing with. Ported barrels will let the gas bleed off before the round exits, and then compensated barrels, the compensator sits at the end of the barrel. What that does is it has baffles that redirects the flow of the gas upward after the round exit, forcing gas. That upward gas force will mitigate the muzzle rise and felt recoil. Another learning point was spring customization altogether, how it can be thinned out on its diameter from the inside and outside to make the overall wiring thinner, or you can make the spring shorter in order to change the weight and force of the spring. One thing that I did notice was the grip modularity, or sometimes the lack thereof. When I received this firearm and it was polymer, I initially wanted to do a hand stippling job, but then when I feel how thin the polymer is on the frame, I don't think the polymer on this frame will be able to withstand the cutting in for the border, the sanding it down, as well as the heat from the stippling. And that was something I also learned, the grip modularity. Sometimes grips can be changed and be enhanced in some form or fashion, and sometimes they cannot. I would like to do a spring change out the spring, similar to what we did with our revolver Galloway precision springs. They have a reduced powered spring kit for the SAR B6. The price is $27.50. As far as the time it would take me to complete it, the kit includes the mag strut spring, the trigger return spring, the firing pin spring, the hammer spring, and the firing pin block spring. I would like to change out all those springs just to see what the trigger pull feels like. I don't see the SAR B6 as a gun I plan to use often, although when I did shoot it, the gun is a very accurate and not a hard gun to shoot at all. It wasn't much recoil. It's a very easy gun to shoot. I have no complaints about it at all. I think I will probably enjoy it, shooting it more after the spring change. The time associated with the spring changes, I could probably have the spring change job in maybe 30 minutes. 45 minutes at the most, I would think. The cost is just $27.50 for the spring kit. With shipping and tax, it would probably be less than $35. If I was to perform this same job for a customer's firearm, I would probably charge anywhere from $75 to $125, but that would be with me supplying the parts. Because most trigger jobs in my area, it usually starts at $75 regardless of what you're getting done. The starting rate in my area, $75 for a trigger job. And this completes my week 5 assignment. This has been a great class. I have learned a lot. The entire program has helped me a lot. I've already started applying some of the things I've learned within the handgun specialist program to some of my own firearms, and I have seen the results. They are effective. So again, thank you, Professor Schumann, and thank you, SDI, for everything. I feel the overall handgun specialist program is great, and we also received 3 firearms with the course. Thank you.